It's Wednesday, October 8th, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, anime we never watched or reviewed.
Let's do this.
So, for all my travels, I was actually in Vegas over the weekend, and I'd never been to Vegas before.
Okay.
So, my expectation of Vegas was basically based on how I'd seen it portrayed in the media and based on other people I know who'd gone there, which pretty much was exemplified by the old Vegas Strip. And the new Vegas Strip is way different. And I have to say, and I'm not going to review Las Vegas right here, I was surprised at how enjoyable a trip to Vegas actually was.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
No.
So, okay.
But my expectation was not based on incredibly old media.
Okay,
but
what
on
would your
modern,
expectation be?
Everything's really fancy and really touristy, but there's, tons of stuff to do all over the place, not just gambling, even though there is gambling everywhere. And you can just sort of, have a good time if you spend money. And there's lots of shows and foods and
I would
whatnot.
liken the new strip because what they've done is they basically, along the main drag, you can't actually even get to the street. They sort of built up these, overpasses and pathways connecting everything so that you're just basically like being on a giant cruise ship except just floating in the sand instead of in the water.
Yeah.
The cool thing, though, is that the airport is literally, you could walk from the airport to most of the hotels. But for the fact that you're not allowed to walk out of the airport as far as I can tell.
Remember, it's a desert, right? So they just put everything right up on top of each other because we're all,
Well, yeah, you say
it's
that.
not
but
like there's any. It's not like say in New York where there's a geography issue.
Well, Scott, you say that, but most airports in desert cities other than Vegas are not literally downtown next to all the hotels.
Most desert cities are not just tourist destinations and nothing else.
There are apparently people who live there, but what was funny
Yeah,
is
there
Emily
are.
and I went for a run in the morning, and we're going out, and we tried to get off the strip just to run outside of the crowd, and there was almost no way to get off the strip. So we finally get off, and then we ran, and then there was no way back by our hotel to get back on the strip. We were behind Las Vegas. It was like being in an alley next to an amusement park with no actual way to get into the amusement park. But yeah, it was a super good time. And I saw Penn and Teller. And the thing I can say about Penn and Teller is they put on the same good old show that they've always done in all their lives. But they're in the Rio, which is kind of a little bit away from the strip. The Rio is a shithole.
Is it? I thought it was just a fancy casino hotel
No, the
like
Rio
all the
is.
other ones.
Are you kidding? No, the Rio is really. The Rio felt like Atlantic City. The Rio was dark, smoky, dank. There were strippers dancing out in it. It was just really unclassy. The food over there was garbage. It's interesting. So Penn and Teller ended, and then we're like, oh, we'll just take a cab back because it's a really long walk to get back to the strip. And pretty much everyone who came to see Penn and Teller took a cab there, and the line for cabs was over 100 people deep. So we walked back. So bear that in mind. If you're going to go to Vegas and you want to see Penn and Teller, don't actually stay at the Rio because it's kind of a shithole. Unless you like to sit in front of a penny slot smoking and then have some mediocre American bar and grill food.
All right.
Okay. All right, Captain Enthusiasm. What's your
not
what's
really
your anime
enthusiastic
news?
about casino hotels. So in news, important news.
Important news.
At work, right, we were discussing a few weeks ago whether or not Saturday morning cartoons still existed. And no one was quite sure because no one watches television
I just read an
anymore.
article that said they don't exist anymore.
In fact, that is my news. Starting a few days ago, I guess the most recent Saturday, they don't exist anymore. The CW was the last broadcast network still having cartoons on Saturday morning, which is pretty much just I guess Yu-Gi-Oh! And some other crap. And they got rid of it and replaced it with some live-action educational garbage that's all family type whatever. So that is the end of Saturday morning cartoons.
However, you know what? I have a feeling if I were a kid today, I would not watch Saturday morning cartoons on TV. I would watch Saturday morning YouTube cartoons.
Sure. Well, you watch YouTube whenever you want. That's part of the reason they're dead.
Yeah, but I would get up in the morning on Saturday.
Of course, I think it's a very good thing that you can watch cartoons not on Saturday morning. You just watch them whenever you want. which is great. Obviously, there's no need to force you to watch them on Saturday morning. It's also great. You don't have to watch them with horrible ads all Saturday morning. That's actually part of the reason they died is an FCC rule changed and limited the amount of kid ads you could put during kid shows.
Yep.
So it wasn't very profitable to have these Saturday morning cartoons anymore.
Meanwhile, we don't regulate how many ads super PACs can put out there.
Sure. But the one thing that's bothersome about the death of Saturday morning cartoons is that, I guess this isn't new. This has been true for decades, like since they've been dying, which I guess they're really only a big thing in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. In the 90s, like NBC already quit, and so it was only like Fox and CW only the ones that held out until
it's interesting because even by the 90s, I didn't really watch the only cartoons I watched on TV in the 90s were primetime.
Yep, Nickelodeon cartoon. Anyway, Fox.
Or they were right after school.
Simpsons.
Because it was some anime.
Sure, Toonami.
Yep.
Right. Anyway, but the thing when Saturday morning cartoons existed in the heyday, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? You had CBS, NBC, Fox, ABC. You have 4 networks basically creating every single week. Each one of them had like at least 6, 7 shows.
I mean, remember, guys, there were not 1, but 2 different Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons.
Well, that was later. But so 6, 7 shows. I guess Fox didn't exist until the 80s, but 6, 7 shows times 3. That's like 21 new episodes, 20-minute episodes of cartoons every week. That was a lot of animation production quantity, even if not all of it was quality, right? So now there are some amazing animations being created all the time, but even if you add up things that are on the edge, so Ponies, Adventure Time, if you push it all the way down to everything you can think of, like the regular show, Gravity Falls, there are not 21 new episodes of cartoons in the United States.
No, I would argue that the average quality per minute of animation is much higher.
Yo, I'm not saying that's not true.
I mean, He-Man.
Yes.
He-Man.
You are correct, but that is not to say that all Saturday morning cartoons were garbage either. You little Muppet Baby going on in there.
Yeah. Muppet Baby is the one thing that you can't get legally.
Yeah, or pretty much any Looney Tunes or, all kinds of good stuff. X-Men, Fox X-Men, Ninja Turtles.
Well, you know what? We need, because it's interesting. I see the cartoon I'm watching right now that's new that we haven't really talked about on the show is The Amazing Adventures of Gumball. And it's not like Ponies. Like, this is a show pretty much aimed at kids. It's the kind of thing that you'd watch on a Saturday morning as a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is that, one, it's a lot more adult than you would expect. But I think that might just be a product of the fact that the last time I watched Saturday morning cartoons as a thing, they were the most possible blend you could have for various cultural reasons. I mean, remember, even primetime, The Simpsons was controversial when it aired.
Well, I think the thing is, anyone who was alive in the Saturday morning cartoon era, right? You didn't have Netflix, you didn't have whatever. So there were certain cartoons that were syndicated. Those are the ones that were on when you got home from school.
Yep.
You could see them all the time. Disney Afternoon was every fucking day. DuckTales, right?
Woo!
Batman the Animated Series, every day you could watch Batman the Animated Series, no problem.
Usually you'd see the same episode just because that's how it always went.
It's like there were a lot of shows. You would see these shows every day. They were good, a lot of them, but it wasn't a big deal. A Saturday morning cartoon, there would be a new episode of it on Saturday morning, and it would not be aired at any other time ever. And you wouldn't get to see that episode again for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks because there would be new episodes and there wouldn't be a rerun. And it was Saturday morning only. And this one time is the only time you could see it unless you recorded it with your VCR. And it's not like they sold Saturday morning cartoons on VHS tape that often. And that was expensive. And so it was like a big deal to watch a Saturday morning cartoon at that time.
Well, it's interesting how Saturday morning
cartoons...
I
watched Fox X-Men. I watched every single episode up until I missed it at some point.
Well, I remember the day. Like,
it was multiple years I saw every single new episode.
The times I'd miss episodes because, we're going to Disney World or whatever. Like, I remember those weekends. I missed the cartoons.
Yep.
Though there's such a part of, pop culture consciousness, even though they haven't really existed like they used to for a long time. Like they were relatively short era.
Well,
but
because
yet-
I mean, there was decades. Anyone who grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, so 30 years worth of people growing up, also early 90s ish. All right, so 40 years of people growing up, the impressionable young childhood minds were slammed with cartoons every week at a certain time.
Though honestly,
that's gonna last into the rest of our lives. That memory.
the ads are my favorite part because one thing about occasionally, like I'll find old Saturday morning cartoons, like someone has a VHS tape or something.
And there's ads on there.
Seeing those ads today is a wonderful experience.
But they're on YouTube too, so you don't.
Yeah,
even need
most of them are.
Yeah. Anyway.
So this is kind of breaking news. So I tried to find a few sources, but I'm not gonna go too deep into this. But there was an article that was an interview with a guy who was speaking at the New York Comic Con, Matthew Klickstein.
I never heard of him.
Yeah, he
What
wrote
does
a
he
book called Slimed.
Is it about Nickelodeon?
Pete and Pete was all white people. Slime, blah. He was an author. He wrote this book. He was doing a panel. I didn't know or care about him or who he was, but there's this interview with him. And the interview starts out pretty normal, and the guy's answering questions. And basically, as the interview goes on, he starts getting like more and more weird and racist. It's one of those things where, like,
People who are fucked up can't hide that fact that they're fucked up.
Yep. Like, imagine you're talking to someone. You're like, hey,
You're
how's it
talking to
going?
Neil Adams. At some point, if you talk to him long enough, you will learn about the expanding Earth. He can't hold it in.
Notice there is no subduction.
Right? If you talk to us long enough, you know what you're going to hear about. Some game theory, maybe.
Yep.
It's going to come out.
Rim's going to talk about the gaze heuristic. Scott's going to talk about dude, bro. We got our thing.
Right.
So
if you talk to someone long enough, the thing that they're into is going to come out. It's even if you don't guide the conversation in that direction.
So this thing just it starts out, it's one of those things where someone says a few words that your brain says, that there's no way he means it the way I think he might mean
Right.
it.
Someone says something on the edge.
Yup.
Like it could be interpreted as, a legitimate point, but it could also be crazy racism.
My favorite part about this isn't the guy going increasingly racist. It's the interviewer reacting to this and basically starting to argue with him a little bit and just not really sure what to do.
I would just be like, wow, you are a crazy fucking racist.
Yeah. So
You realize
I'll give you a quote. This is a quote with the guy said.
I'm going to let everyone know this. This interview is going to be posted everywhere, and your career will end. Good day, sir.
Well, what's interesting is it's kind of like with those people who get interviewed by The Daily Show.
Or
Like,
bad day to you, horrible person.
But
not good day, sir.
Do the people being interviewed by The Daily Show not realize they're being made fun of?
Well, there was that one with the Native Americans.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That was epic.
That was
amazing.
That was Scott Tanner and let me drink your tears. Oh yes. Quote, I think it's worse when they shove diversity in there. Sanjay and Craig is a really good example. That's a show, by the way. It has an
Okay.
Indian kid in it and a snake and stuff.
All right.
Which, funnily enough, is written in part by Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi from Pete and Pete. That show is awkward because, and I'm quoting exactly here, there's actually no reason for that character to be Indian.
What reason is there for them to not be Indian?
Uh,
There's no reason for Pete and Pete to be white.
Yes, that is, and the entire article, the entire interview, just from that moment goes downhill. So the news is that the New York Comic Con, as far as I can tell, this just happened like a few minutes ago. So I'm going on, I found a few sources. I'm pretty sure this happened. New York Comic Con was like, yeah, your Nick Nostalgia Night panel is canceled.
Okay.
So, things move quickly.
So is this guy from a particular company, or is he just on his own with this book he wrote?
Not sure. I got to do more research on him, but he wrote the book.
I would
and-
take his badge away.
Yep.
Right? I mean, people would be like, freedom of speech. It's like, yeah, he can say whatever he wants.
But he's not coming to
This is
my
a-
house.
This is a private convention. We can deny anyone entry for any reason we feel like.
guys, Keith Apicary can't come to PAX.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
Right. So, yeah, if you find out that you're racist, we're just going to, deny you entry because we can and we want to because we don't like racism. Oh, and by the way, if I was also in charge of New York Comic Con, I would figure out whatever company he works for and whatever friends he has and deny them entry too. I'd be like, your whole company can't come. Booth taken away. No refund. Fuck you. Just to really drive. Even if he was like working for Marvel, drawing a comic, I'd be like, Marvel, you can't come. I would do that. I would go that big just to be like, boom, take that. What now? Maybe you shouldn't hire racist people. And then every company would start checking every employee. And it would be great.
Do we get Dora the Explorer was certainly something of a success, but there's no reason for Sanjay to be Indian at all. No one working on that show is Indian. They're all white. It's all white people. Blah blah blah. And the end, like that's the
So
moment.
white people should only make things with white people in them?
Yeah, and then he starts accusing it of being blackface. And then at one point, the interviewer, let me find this moment.
Is this Sanjay actor not an Indian person?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the moment where
Is it a person pretending to be Indian?
So here's what the interviewer says after this guy goes crazy for a while.
Why does he stand there and let him do this? Just like, keep embarrassing yourself? Let's get more crazy video content because it's going to get mad hits of people wanting to see how horrible you are?
There's a lot of other issues going on when you're working with people with
I
disabilities.
wouldn't want to... See, on the one
Why
hand...
do it? Why do it at all? If you're going to do it, hey, look, there's our Indian guy. We're doing it too. We got Indian guys, blah, blah, blah. And then he's doing this rant, and then the interviewer asks this question. Doesn't even ask the question.
Let's see if this interview is better than what I
Quote,
can come up
here's
with.
the interviewer. Sanjay is voiced by an Indian-American actor.
Oh, it's a cartoon. Okay.
Yes.
There you go.
He just jumps right in there. And the guy at one point says, here's the great quote. I would be offended if one of the friends on Clifford the Big Red Dog had a friend who was in a wheelchair.
Why?
I understand the idea of there's someone like me, but it's necessary that the show is actually saying something, doing something with the disability. If you just throw that character in there, the friend just happens to be black, I feel that it's being used.
People just happen to be all kinds of things. And they just live their lives, and the thing that they are or happen to be doesn't really come up.
Yeah.
Or at least it shouldn't, except for when there's people like you. That's the time that it matters.
This guy's a lot like those Gamergate kids in the sense that they'll say things that assume some very, very important things that are demonstrably false. Like, you make a big assumption, like the biggest assumption.
That you are in the year 1951?
Yep.
That's a big assumption because that's not true
his
ever
assumption
again.
here is basically, well, I mean, white is the default.
I assume that the person interviewing me is a member of the KKK. That's a good assumption to go on. I assume that anyone reading the media that they are creating is also a member.
So, I got two sources on this. So, if it ends up that it was not canceled, I retract it. But for now, good job, New York Comic Con.
Yep. Now, the thing is, would they have the balls to do it if, say, some big name hotshot movie industry person who was like guest of honor did something like this?
That I don't know.
Would they have the balls? Because
I am confident that PAX would. I am confident that Robert Koo would kick his own keynote out.
I'm confident Robert Koo would kick his own ass out. But yeah.
Anyway, things of the day. It's not a video. If you want to see a video instead of my thing of the day, go to College Humor, click on something. They're all funny.
Okay.
So, this is a quote from the Anime News Network forum from Masa Juice.
What? Why is your thing of the day a quote from the Anime News Network?
Because it's so beautiful.
Why did you dive into one of the bowels of the internet to find anything?
Oh, I did not dive in to find this. Colony Drop posted it, so I just got to enjoy it without having to go in there.
All right.
So it's like when someone else goes swimming in the poop field and comes back with a diamond, and you can look at the diamond without swimming in the poop.
All right.
So, like Zach Bershey, for example, my hat is off to you. You swim in a sea of effervescent poop for my amusement.
All right.
Quote, I think that Anime News Network should stop making preview guides because reviewers only write their spelled wrong on opinion, and most of the time they make all anime look like a waste, as in my waste, of time and mizzled potential viewers.
Misled.
So, for all so-called reviewers, I could go fudge yourself and then burn together with yours opinions.
Okay, so first of all, most anime is a waste of time and garbage.
Yes.
So those are accurate guide. Also, let me give you a review now of an anime that has no opinion.
Yeah, no opinion, Scott.
No opinion in this anime review. You ready?
You gotta be objective.
All right, so the anime is going to be, let's look on the shelf. What's on the shelf there?
Over there? I don't know, do Golden Boy.
Golden Boy? All right, here's a review of Golden Boy that is no opinion in it whatsoever. Golden Boy is an anime. It was made, I don't know the exact year, 90s-ish, I'm guessing. I would say the exact year by looking it up.
In retrospect, I should have randomly said the name of an anime that we both remember more
something
about.
that we know more information about without having to look it up. it has X number of episodes.
Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is 200 episodes long. It's based on a manga about magical girls, but it is significantly different from the manga in many ways. It was drawn on cells.
In the story, there are girls who are visited by cats given magical powers, and they have to fight against dark forces to save the world from destruction.
Wait. They're not necessarily all dark forces.
Forces of Queen Beryl and others.
That is technically true. Okay.
Yes, okay. There are transformation sequences in it. It is a magical girl show. They used color.
They did use color.
Episodes are 20-something minutes.
Dubbed in English by Deke. On Crunchyroll right now.
Well, Crystal's on Crunchyroll right now.
Oh, yeah. The other
regular
one's on
Hulu. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
That is an objective review, just the spec sheet.
This is amazing.
If I say anything such as awesome transformation sequences or suddenly that's opinion. So I don't know.
So the reason I make this my thing of the day is that in the anime fandom, this sentiment is so prevalent and so common.
We should make the no opinion review site and then of everything and see what people say.
Well, there used to be those old reviews that were mostly review like the encoding quality and whether like how many channels were in the audio.
Okay, so that was specifically anime on DVD, which no longer exists. I don't know if people remember how good anime on DVD was actually really useful because it had the list of like animes coming out. When there was no sheet and whatever.
But its reviews were...
Right, they were basically reviewing the quality of the DVD and such because up until that point, animes on VHS, it'd be like, oh, this is like a third generation. You're looking at a really shitty version of this. Right, so the actual quality of the anime was a big deal. It's like, oh my god, you can actually see the show without a whole bunch of noise and grain all over it.
Yeah, guys, you realize we watched the end of Utena.
The subtitles are readable and accurate. It's amazing.
We watched VHS of the end of Utena.
The stereo sound is actually like properly mixed, and it's not some mono down mix.
And
or
an
something.
episode like the second to last, so 37 or so of Utena, like the episodes from that point to the end. We had started having tracking problems. If you don't know what I mean, you're way younger than us.
Right.
And then we go to adjust the tracking, and it turned out the tracking was burned in from the previous generation copy.
Yep. So now that no one gives a fuck about those kinds of issues anymore, anime on DVD doesn't need to exist. But in its time, that was actually not a bad thing to, at least get the information about the technology and the quality, the physical quality of the media you were getting.
The reason this guy posted, he has one more sentence about Trinity 7. This is why he posted.
What is Trinity 7?
An anime.
Okay.
I found it entertaining and fun. And MC is not a wimp, and that's one reason because I like it. So basically, he was mad
that someone else had a different opinion than he had.
About Trinity 7. And here's where this is beautiful. He joined the Anime News Network forum on the 12th of March, 2010, and has posted 3 times.
All of them about Trinity 7?
This was his 3rd post. So he was angry enough about someone having an opinion about an anime to make his 3rd ever post in more than 4 years on the Anime News Network forum. I don't know what it is about anime fandom, but the whole...
how is that any different from any fandom?
I don't see this specific don't review things.
No, you don't see that in video game fandom ever.
I do, but not nearly as prevalently.
You don't see it tweeted in your feed because you're not following those people. And also that those other fandoms don't have the kinds of personalities in them that are trolling forums looking for hilarity and retweeting it.
That may be true.
But it's there.
I feel like it's more common in anime.
No, it's in every fandom.
Kind of like how, look at the anti-professionalism, that other side thing in anime. Like, don't see that nearly as much at gaming cons.
Yeah, you do.
Not as much, I posit.
There are people like, oh, indie gaming, great. Oh, your game is too, overproduced. You hear people talk, I've seen board game people make threads about which games are overproduced. They'd be like, St. Petersburg is overproduced. Doesn't need that board. Let's go, wooden pieces, really? For serious? It's a card game. Make it a deck of cards.
In the meta moment, I'm going to be at PAX Australia in a couple weeks.
We didn't talk about my thing of the day.
Oh, right. You have a thing of the day.
I do. This is a tiny thing of the day. It makes you feel bad if you own a GoPro and haven't done anything awesome with it. Because this kid and his dad, they take the GoPro and they make an epic video. So epic. So amazing. Of going to get groceries. So if you have a GoPro and you don't skydive or, do crazy, ridiculous dangerous shit, and you're thinking, yeah, that's the reason I don't have any epic videos with my GoPros, because I don't do any epic shit. Well, here's epic video of grocery run, so I want to see me and everyone else who has a GoPro who hasn't made epic video make epic video. Here's your example. Instructions.
So, at PAX Australia on Friday, Halloween, 11 a.m.
Do they have Halloween in Australia?
I don't think so.
Well, you must bring it to them.
Fruit Bat Theater. I will be
At least
presenting
it's an appropriate theater.
how to win every game. And then on Saturday, the 1st, 2 p.m., also in the Fruit Bat Theater, I am presenting Losing. It's going to be a good time if you come. I'm very pleased that I've got 2 like pretty fucking primetime spots here, which means I really can't fuck this up.
Mm-hmm. What's the new book club book there?
I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided whether I want to punish you or whether I want to pick a book that you might enjoy.
All right. Other meta moments tonight on the crappy and soon-to-be-dead David Letterman show is the exact opposite of crappy and soon-to-be-dead Hatsune Miku.
Yep.
It is the clash of worlds, the new replacing the old, the newest possible amazing thing, being ushered out by the deadest, oldest tree.
You realize that something like Hatsune Miku will one day replace the hosts of a late show, and then will be the host of that late show for the rest of human history.
As long as people care.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, the marginal cost of making that late show dropped close to zero to where you could just keep making it for free as long as there's electricity.
I just think it's going to be awesome to have the 20th century and the 21st century. Basically, the 20th century this is like, you could put this in the nerd history book as the moment the 20th century is like, all right, goodbye. You got it. You got it, 21st century. It's yours now. You're just handing off the baton. So watch it on YouTube tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to watch the rest of his crappy show.
No, you don't. So, we were trying to come up with a show to do, Wednesday show.
And this is all Rim's idea.
Well, did you have an idea?
No.
Okay. So, we realized, we've been doing Geeknights for almost a decade. We've got a lot of fucking episodes out there. I think we have
It's about to be the 9th year or 9 years. We started in October 05, and it's October 14. So that's 14 minus 5 is 9.
I mean, guys, in 2007, we won the first, and I think only, I don't know how long they kept doing it, Parsec Award for Best Anime Podcast.
Great.
And I think we've actually done more anime podcasts than Anime World Order, despite the fact that they do way better anime podcasts.
But I think one of their anime podcast counts for like 30 of ours.
But what we did is, we had seen a fuck ton of anime. I mean, between Scott and I, there were a while ago, back
Obviously, I haven't seen all the anime ever,
No.
but I have seen more anime than most people.
Someone put together in 2004-ish, I remember this, here are the top 100, pretty much most important or notable anime ever.
I'd seen 90+% of that
we had
list.
seen basically all of them, and the few we hadn't seen, we knew a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd seen a lot of anime. So when we started doing Geek Nights, Wednesday was literally the easiest night because we would just
all
pick
the
an anime
we had already seen, we could easily just talk about.
Hey, Scott, what should we review tonight? Evangelion? I
Sure.
could talk about that for an hour.
Let's go down the checklist of this, 100 important
no,
animes.
wait. Let's do Cowboy Bebop. That one will be even easier.
Yeah. We've never talked about that on the show. We've only done 10 episodes of Geek Nights.
Kind of like how when I got to RIT as an anime fan and that first meeting when I went up to the Anime Club library and I was told I could check out up to 3 VHS tapes, and then I saw the 600 tapes up there, and I had never heard of 90% of those anime.
Mm-hmm.
I gorged on anime until my eyes fell out. It was amazing. But eventually I'd seen everything that was notable from the past.
Yep.
And as a result, I realize now, we're scrambling. We had to slow down our rate of anime reviews just because we have to actually finish an entire show to do a good review of it.
Yeah, I haven't.
And we both have to watch it.
We both have to watch a whole anime that we had to do a show on it because every show we've already both seen has already had a show done.
Yep. And some of these shows are long. We could do a show on Fushigi Yugi. Scott hasn't watched all that shit.
I haven't watched any of that.
Yeah. So I was starting to think, and then I realized there's a few anime that are pretty big that for whatever reason, like I just never watched, or even we both just never watched it. So
The ones that didn't make that top 100 list, like the ones from like 100 to 200.
Yep.
Or the ones, a lot of them were ones that were big at a time but aren't big overall.
So I think the example I got here, the biggest one, and this is kind of we'll wing it here, because we're trying to figure out like what shows can we review that we haven't done already that we actually want to watch again.
Oh.
Because that's another problem. Because, for example, we hadn't seen Mahou Sky Tai in a long time. So we watched it again because that show is delightful.
Yep.
And then we reviewed it. I don't really want to watch Kaze no Yojimbo again. In fact,
we tried to watch it twice.
And didn't finish it either
Did
time.
we do an episode on it at all?
I don't know.
So we started watching the show at RIT, and then we tried to watch it again on Netflix in like 05, early
We made
Geeknights
it like
days.
8 episodes in.
Right, we were getting the DVDs from Netflix, and I think those were like, that's when we stopped watching the Netflix DVD. We basically had a routine before
In fact,
Geeknights
Scott, when we
of
moved...
watch a Netflix DVD every single night, and then this is before they had the streaming and whatnot.
That was also before we really did Geeknights, some of that.
Right. We were watching South Park DVDs every night, whatever. And then Kazuno Jimbo sort of was like, that's when we stopped watching Netflix every night. And it just like, there was no urge to see the next episode.
Yep.
At all.
So later, like, and the moment that crystallized this in my brain was I was on Metro North later, and I thought, I'm going to finish the show so I can at least talk about it. And I made it to about the same point, like a few episodes passed where we'd stopped. And then the episode ended, and I'm sitting there on the train. I got about 40 minutes before I'm going to get off the train. And I just didn't want to watch the next episode. And instead, I watched episode 1 of Evangelion.
And then immediately, as soon as it was over, the train was pulling into the station.
And I was like,
no,
fuck. And I got into the house, and then I watched episode 2 of Evangelion.
There you go.
So, yeah, Kaze no Yojimbo was just really lame.
And I'm sure the show had good parts, especially if you know the story of Yojimbo, it makes a lot more sense. But there was no desire to see the next episode after watching any of them. So there's no way to finish it, or you'd have to force yourself to finish it, and fuck that.
Yep.
Just don't watch it.
So I think I remember, so when we were at RIT Anime, there was like the set of robot shows that people would recommend. Like there was the cluster of robot shows, and it was Evangelion, Escaflowne, Gundam just in general. And one of the ones that was always on that list as a must-see robot show was Martian successor Nadeshiko.
People don't even know that thing anymore.
No, that show was big. People cosplayed as it like
in the early 2000s. That show was a big fucking deal.
People cosplayed as characters from that, like at the RIT Anime Club costume contest.
Every single time there was like merchandise, you would see Nadeshiko merchandise everywhere. I remember seeing tons of Nadeshiko wall scrolls all over the place.
So I just never watched it. And I watched the first episode like 4 times, and every time didn't look that good. And people swore to me it was really good. But
Rim got the DVDs.
Yep.
And after I had finished watching Evangelion, Escaflowne, etc. on that train in the Beacon days, I ripped it to put on my iPhone 3G, which is how I watched Evangelion, Escaflowne on those trains. And I had the whole thing on my phone, my iPhone 3G, and I still have those ripped videos in my iTunes of all of Nadeshiko.
Yeah, how many of those did you watch?
I watched like 3 on a train once, and I just didn't watch anymore.
I think these shows...
Same thing.
These shows both typify one type of reason why you stop watching. These are the small roller coaster. I probably would have really liked Nadeshiko if I hadn't already seen Ava.
Maybe.
Probably would have really liked Kaze no Yojimbo if I'd never seen, I don't know, like Cowboy Bebop.
In high school, I would have watched the fuck out of pretty much any anime you gave me, no matter how bad.
Oh my god. I mean, high school is when I watched shit like Doom Megalopolis and Armageddon because that was all I hadn't seen at Blockbuster.
And it's like Fatal Fury on Sci-Fi Channel? Oh, yes. Now, no.
So then there's shows that were just like Marmalade Boy. Does anyone listening to Geeknights even know what the fuck Marmalade Boy is?
That was a show that only people that were like in anime clubs cared about.
Yep. That was the kind of show. It's interesting because Marmalade Boy...
That's a show like only the super anime fans even know existed.
Marmalade Boy and Kimagure Orange Road.
All same deal.
Those were the two. Those were like the shows like when we were freshmen at RIT.
They're like the romance shoujo shows that... the hardcore anime people knew existed and were way into, but no average anime fan ever heard of them ever.
But it was interesting because if you went to the anime club and you went to conventions with those kinds of people, and you were the freshmen and they were the seniors, you got the impression that Marmalade Boy and Kimagure Orange Road were huge shows. Really important, really popular. Like, they would just talk about this shit. They showed the Christmas special from KOR for the Christmas showing at the anime club, and the audience like, oh my God, it's the KOR. Like, they called it KOR. And the shows were not that good. And they're completely forgotten now, except by people like us. And even then, we were too young for those shows.
Right. They were acting like they were a big deal. But now, if you watch, like, Japanese television, it's like you don't see a lot of references to Marmalade Boy.
Yeah.
But you see Fist of the North Star jokes all the time. Those guys didn't. No one talked about Fist of the North Star at the RIT Anime Club. No one.
Yeah.
Why not?
Honestly,
They knew it existed.
I wonder if it's because I think Marmalade Boy didn't Greg Young fan sub a bunch of that?
He did.
Because there was, we were talking about how Miku on Letterman is like the end of one generation, the beginning of another. Like, that's the nexus point. I feel like that year, the year 2000, 2001, was this nexus point between the last of the anime fandom that went to conventions to copy VHS tapes and the first of the anime fandom that had the internet and didn't give a shit about fan subbers. Like, that was the big turning point. So I feel like if you want, like, I almost want to watch KOR to review it.
It's all you.
Maybe, that's the problem. You're not going to watch it. We could just watch the movie.
It's all you.
Why are you poking me with the microphone
Because
stand?
I want to.
I know, KOR, I watched the movie, and I saw a bunch of AMVs about Marmalade Boy. And Marmalade Boy looks really creepy. I don't get the impression it's actually that funny.
I mean, if you want to watch something somewhat romantic, just watch Touch, which is actually really important and significant and good.
Or watch Fushigi Yugi.
Which I guess is better than those two.
Yeah, we've talked about this in panels a lot, and we've talked about it on the show. Fushigi Yugi was the Full Metal Alchemist of its era.
Yep, it was a big fucking deal. Just like, and even shows, you know what else was a big deal right then? Inuyasha was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And now no one talks about fucking Inuyasha except to say that show is too damn long.
Inuyasha was when I realized that Rumiko Takahashi can't fucking end a story.
Right, but no one talks about Inuyasha anymore. It was a big deal then, now no deal.
Yeah, and you know what? The people who talk about Inuyasha will obsess about the closing song from Fushigi Yugi. I guarantee it. If anyone ever mentions Inuyasha to you, ask them what they think of the song that ended the first season of Fushigi Yugi. I'll bet a small amount of money that they will have an opinion about that.
Maybe.
Because, well, I was talking to basically a Fujoshi. That is the self-described label for this person. And we were talking about Gundam Seed. This was a couple of years ago. And what they said was Gundam Seed did the Fushigi Yugi thing. And I was like, and I paused, and I was like, you mean the closing song starts like a minute before the episode ends sometimes? And they were like, exactly. And they were really into Inuyasha too. But yeah, those shows, like, you'd go to Otakon and there'd be like a million Miyakas. Like, half the cosplay skits were Miyaka, Tamahome, Miyaka. I don't think anyone would get that reference anymore.
No, I'm sure someone does listening to this.
Yeah. You know, we never reviewed that actually we probably should is Koto-cha.
That's actually a good show.
Yeah.
That's also forgotten.
Well, how much of it have you seen? We watched the that compilation kind of movie.
Yeah, I've seen like a movie, and I think I fell asleep during it because it wasn't. Yeah, and
well, you fell asleep during easily half the anime we watched at RIT.
Yeah.
Gray Digital Target. I remember you fell asleep during the middle of. Not that you missed anything.
No.
In retrospect, whenever you fell asleep, what we should have done is paused it and just waited for you to sleep for a while. And then unpause it and wake you up, so you would just have these weird memories of like 8-hour-long anime. Or we could have just watched Odin.
Odin. Then we'd all fall asleep.
I actually haven't seen all of Koto-cha. In fact, I think my primary exposure to Koto-cha was actually that
AMVs?
caffeine and conium AMV.
Hey, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's cute and funny.
It's a cute, funny show. There's not a lot of other shows like it. It's got the kind of humor that modern moe shows pretend to have, but are really just pornography. Magic Knight Rayearth. I just remembered. That's a show that I couldn't even sit through the marathon.
I had the manga, which came out again recently, which is why I have it.
In fact, that was the first marathon at the RIT Anime Club that I went to. And then I was like, yeah, fuck it. And I just left after like 9 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another one of those shows that it was popular enough in its era that everyone would refer to it by an acronym. That was MKR. And everyone knew exactly what you were talking about, whether or not they'd seen it. Do you want to watch MKR?
No.
Do you know what it is?
I had the manga.
Did you read the manga?
Yeah, I read a whole bunch of it.
Oh, not all of it, though.
No. It's a few big fat books.
So why are we watching Sailor Moon but not MKR?
Because Sailor Moon's actually entertaining.
Why? What's the difference?
Punishment.
Tsukini Kawate Oshiokyo?
Yes. Magic Knight Rayer doesn't have that kind of shit.
No, it doesn't. Actually, MKR is more like half Sailor Moon, half Slayers, but with not the humor part of Slayers, the dramatic part of Slayers. As I recall. I actually haven't seen MKR in a long, long time. And even then, I'd see like random episodes along the way. You know what else we never reviewed? That's actually a pretty big and good show. Lotus War and Oh My Goddess.
Well, okay, so those are 2 different shows.
Yeah, but they're both like early formative American fandom shows.
Right, so Lotus War, when you went to like, the FYE or whatever, and there were VHS tapes of anime in the late 90s, Lotus War TV, those red boxed ones, were always there everywhere. They were widely distributed and easily accessible. So that sort of made it a bigger deal than it needed to be. Of course, Lotus War OVA is the only thing that's actually good, besides Lotus Island.
It's not actually good, in my opinion,
The
in
OVA?
retrospect, having watched it again relatively recently.
When was recent?
Like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think we watched it at Beacon once, and I think we did do an episode on it.
I couldn't find one in a cursory search.
All right, well.
In my opinion, Lotus War was great for me as a kid only because I was D&D starved.
Yep.
And it was anime about D&D.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only reason I liked it. And part of it was that for a while, I only had access to like the first 2 episodes-ish. So I was really obsessed with what happened later. Just like Arslan, Heroic Legend of Arslan. Like I was really obsessed with like what happens next. And then I watched the end of Lotus War and I was like, oh, that didn't really go anywhere. And then I found out there was no more Arslan.
No, something happened. The Arslan manga is still going for real.
Yeah, but the anime just
I think
cut
this
off.
actually, I've read a news about like something big's happening in it soon. There's like a special announcement or something.
Ah.
It could be that it's ending. It could be a big twist is happening. Who knows?
Yeah. But Oh My Goddess, like that was another one of those like ridiculously popular forever.
That was a lot like
things.
Nadeshiko, where it was everywhere. There was merch for it everywhere. And part of that was because Dark Horse was pushing the manga really hard.
Yep.
In the U.S.
And also, I mean, there was the original OAV, and then there's like a bunch of other related things. Oh My Goddess stuff that came later. There's the movie.
The manga finally ended sometime recently.
Yeah.
Super long running.
I wonder if they ever had sex.
I don't know.
That's actually all I wondered, because that nothing fucking happened. The art was beautiful, but nothing fucking happened in that manga.
That's
ever.
That's the one thing I remember. Oh my god! There was like the number one thing that you would hear about it was and see in all of the merchandise and other artifacts was just like how crazy amazing the art was. It looked like super colorful and clean and sharp. Designs like in the the CG days that we have now, where computers are even used to make 2D animation. But it was hand drawn in the olden days.
Yep.
And it was like, wow, it's just a TV show. It's not even like Akira movie or anything, but look at the way it looks.
But I feel like we should actually, because I haven't seen it in a long time, and I don't think you've ever seen it, we should watch and review the original Oh My Goddess OAV.
Sure, you can go get on that.
Well, it's 5 episodes, Scott. That is less than like one mid-arc of Sailor Moon.
Are they 20-minute or is it an OAV where they're longer?
I think they're 23 minutes. I haven't seen them in a long time.
Yep.
And actually, I remember I skipped, I think, the 3rd episode because the tape at Anime Club like wouldn't play in my VCR. So I skipped that one. I never ended up seeing it. And actually, despite owning it and having paid $25 for the DVD when it came out, I never actually watched the Oh My Goddess movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just for whatever reason.
Wasn't that the one that you cosplayed as?
Yes, that was the one I cosplayed as.
Yeah, that one had like the even better arts. People were like losing their shit over how that movie looked.
Yeah, I remember we showed it at the anime club, and people like lined up.
And wasn't it a really bad movie?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Me
we had
either.
because I was running the club. When I ran the club, I couldn't watch any goddamn anime.
I didn't watch that.
Yeah, because everyone lined up, and we actually had to kick people out of the room.
Actually, one of the main reason I didn't watch it is because I'd never seen any other Oh My Goddess, and I was like, well, this isn't going to make any sense to someone who's never seen any of it. I thought it was like, an ending movie or something like that.
Nah, it's not like the third Tenchi movie.
It's a compilation movie?
I feel like it's just, you could watch, it's like the Tenchi movie. You can watch the first Tenchi movie knowing nothing about Tenchi, and it's a fine movie.
It's like the Sailor Moon movie we reviewed where it's Candy something Moon?
Yeah, basically, like the movie, just like it's fine. You don't need to know anything. The movie will reveal everything you need to know and just throw you into it, and it's fine.
Mm.
Actually, you know what that reminds me of? YUA.
Mm.
Another one of those acronym shows.
Yeah.
You're
under arrest. All I know about is comedy police girls.
Well, we show the episode with the hurricane, and there's the phantom speeder who only comes during hurricanes and goes speeding because the cops can't catch him.
Mm-hmm.
We showed that like every year as a tradition in the anime club.
Mm-hmm.
That was
I
actually,
don't remember it.
You know what it was? It reminded me a lot of Patlabor in the sense that it's like, it's that camaraderie comedy of a bunch of people who have a sort of police military kind of job, but it mostly focuses on just them and their own like personal funny drama.
And also Rhythm and Police or Gunsmith Cats.
Oh yeah, it's not called Rhythm and Police.
I know.
You just don't remember what it's called, do you?
That's correct. It's called...
It's called...
You're going to say it and I'm going to go, damn it.
Yeah, I don't remember either because I remember it was
even though I've seen all of it, even the TV episodes.
It's a Japanese phrase that I kept fucking messing up. I'm trying to look it up now. Rhythm and Police TV.
Wow. Just search for like dancing police.
Odoru Dai So Sasen.
That's the one.
I would because I would always say Dai Sa Sosen. It's Dai So Sasen.
So good.
Oh
Everyone should watch Odoru Dai So Sasen. Haven't we done an episode on that?
We better. I'm gonna look right now. If we didn't do an episode on that, we're doing an episode on it like next Wednesday, even though it's not even animated. But yeah, I feel like we could watch YUA and do a review of it.
You find it. A lot of these animes are ones that are so off the radar now because they were just sort of hot flashes in the pan in the U.S. at least that it's not the easiest to go get them these days if you don't have them already. You got to find an old DVD or an old fan sub or hope someone's still seeding a torrent or someone crazy's on an IRC. Or
Okay. On June 22nd, 2011, we did an episode about anime that only you or I had watched that the other one hadn't watched. And in the middle of that, we talked about Bayside Shakedown, even though we'd both seen it. And we even have a note here saying, even though we both have seen it. So I guess that's the only time we ever talked about it.
On a very similar episode of Geeknights, we went on a very similar tangent. I have a feeling that if we listen to that old episode of Geeknights, it might be very similar.
No, because here's the list of anime we talked about. The anime list does not overlap at all.
Real interesting.
Here's the list of anime we talked about on that episode: Wolverine, Iron Man,
so meta,
X-Men.
None of the you mean the anime ones?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Galaxy Railways, Birdie the Mighty Decode, Votoms, Scrap Princess, Patlabor, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, Captain Tyler, 7 Billion Needles, Urusei Yatsura, Ranma 1/2, and Rosa Versailles.
Have you seen any of the ones on the list that you hadn't seen then?
I've since watched a bunch of Rosa Versailles, but I actually didn't finish it. I still haven't watched Galaxy Railways.
I don't know if you need to watch Galaxy Rails. You haven't seen Galaxy Express.
Yeah. I've not watched... I fell asleep during the second Patlabor movie. I gotta watch it again.
That one's actually good.
I know it's good.
But it's also the end of Patlabor. You should only see that after you watch all the other Patlabor.
Yeah, I know you have not watched Birdie the Mighty Decode, even though it's a really good show.
No, have not.
And take you know what feeling it gave me? Take like the Kill La Kill feeling and drop it down about 3 notches. That's Birdie the Mighty Decode. Which means it's still pretty good. Oh, our things of the day were It's Dragonaut Bitch and Mameshiba.
Mameshiba.
Yeah. Oh, Dragonite Bitch is still up. So is Mameshiba. All right. Yeah. What else we talk about then? Spider-Man is Dead, AKB48, Makoto Shinkai's Studio something is looking for Cloud and Powerline interns. Yeah. Makoto Shinkai's studio was looking for background interns.
Yep. Draw clouds and power lines.
Yeah, our show notes were a lot more clever back then, I think.
You put more effort into it?
I think I did.
Why
I think
don't you
I
put your
a lot
effort
more.
into it tonight?
I'll put some effort into it tonight.
And I'll go home and eat dinner.
Yeah.
Because I'm hungry.
So, Full Metal Alchemist, was the Fushigi Yugi. It was the biggest goddamn thing ever.
We haven't done an episode on it?
We did, but we never watched?
The other ones?
Remember the movie?
We didn't watch the movie.
The Conqueror Shambhala or whatever that was supposed to answer all those questions? Because remember,
Did not see.
the anime diverged from the manga. We watched the anime. It was the best thing, or the biggest thing ever, at least. We watched every episode as it came out. And it ended, during the Blitz, during, the interwar period in regular Earth with a bunch of bullshit. And then the movie was going to explain it all. And the movie, because everyone else said the movie was so bad, I never watched it.
I didn't watch it either. I have all the manga, actually, but I haven't read it all.
And then Brotherhood came out, and I just wasn't interested. And I think Dave, I remember I remember listening to him. He was talking about how he started watching Brotherhood, and it kind of sucked because the beginning pretty much is the same as the original anime. But then he ended up going back to check because he watched the original one, and he ended up just watching the original one all the way through again instead. I don't think I'll ever watch Brotherhood. I just have no interest, and no one.
Isn't it supposedly the same as the manga?
Yes, meaning it diverges from the original anime.
So if I just read the manga that I own, I'll be all set.
I guess.
I mostly just want to read all that manga so I won't feel bad about then selling it
Nah.
and getting it off, making shelf space open up.
All right, I think we'll just cut it off here because, frankly, I got some cool stuff to do tomorrow that I'm going to talk about once I find out if I can talk about it or not, and then I go to Australia. So, yeah. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night. Old media.
Okay,
but
what
on
would your
modern-
expectation be?
Everything's really fancy and really touristy, but there's, tons of stuff to do all over the place, not just gambling, even though there's gambling everywhere. And you can just sort of, have a good time if you spend money. And there's lots of shows and foods and
I would like in
whatnot.
the new strip because what they've done is they basically, along the main drag, you can't actually even get to the street. They sort of built up these, overpasses and pathways connecting everything. So that you're just basically like being on a giant cruise ship, except just floating in the sand instead of in the water.
Yeah.
The cool thing, though, is that the airport is literally you could walk from the airport to most of the hotels, but for the fact that you're not allowed to walk out of the airport, as far as I can tell.
Remember, it's a desert, right? So they just put everything right up on top of each other because we're all,
Well, yeah, you say
It's
that.
not
but
like there's any. It's not like say in New York where there's a geography issue.
Well, Scott, you say that, but most is dark, smoky, dank. There were strippers dancing out in it. It was just really unclassy. The food over there was garbage. It's interesting. So Penn and Teller ended, and then we're like, oh, we'll just take a cab back because it's a really long walk to get back to the strip. And pretty much everyone who came to see Penn and Teller took a cab there, and the line for cabs was over 100 people deep. So we walked back. So bear that in mind. If you're going to go to Vegas and you want to see Penn and Teller, don't actually stay at the Rio because it's kind of a shithole. Unless you like to sit in front of a penny slot smoking and then have some mediocre American bar and grill food.
All right.
Okay. All right, Captain Enthusiasm. What's your,
Not
what's your
really
anime
enthusiastic
news?
about casino hotels. So in news, important news.
Important news.
At work, right, we were discussing a few weeks ago whether or not Saturday morning cartoons still existed. And no one was quite sure because no one watches television
I just read an
anymore.
article that said they don't exist anymore.
In fact, that is my news. Starting like a few days ago, I guess the most recent Saturday, they don't exist anymore. The CW was the last broadcast network still having cartoons on Saturday morning, which is pretty much just like, I guess, Yu-Gi-Oh! And some other crap. And they got rid of it and replaced it with some live-action educational garbage that's all family type whatever. So that is the end of Saturday morning cartoons.
However, you know what? I have a feeling if I were a kid today, I would not watch Saturday morning cartoons on TV. I would watch Saturday morning YouTube cartoons.
Sure. Well, I mean, you watch YouTube whenever you want. That's part of the reason they're dead.
Yeah, but I would get up in the morning on Saturday.
Of course, I mean, I think it's a very good thing that you can watch cartoons not on Saturday morning. You just watch them whenever you want, which is great. Obviously, there's no need to force you to watch them on Saturday morning. It's also great. You don't have to watch them with horrible ads all Saturday morning. That's actually part of the reason.
It's Wednesday, October 8th, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, anime we never watched or reviewed. Let's do this. So, for all my travels, I was actually in Vegas over the weekend, and I'd never been to Vegas before.
Okay.
So, my expectation of Vegas was basically based on how I'd seen it portrayed in the media and based on other people I know who'd gone there, which pretty much was exemplified by the old Vegas Strip. And the new Vegas Strip is way different. And I have to say, and I'm not going to review Las Vegas right here, I was surprised at how enjoyable a trip to Vegas actually was.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
No.
So, okay.
But my expectation was not based on incredibly old.
Airports in desert cities other than Vegas are not literally downtown next to all the hotels.
Most desert cities are not just tourist destinations and nothing else.
There are apparently people who live there, but what was funny is
there are.
Emily and I went for a run in the morning, and we're going out, and we tried to get off the strip just to like run outside of like the crowd, and there was almost no way to get off the strip.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally get off, and then we ran, and then there was no way back by our hotel to get back on the strip. We were like behind Las Vegas. It was like being in an alley next to an amusement park with no actual way to get into the amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a super good time. And I saw Penn and Teller. And the thing I can say about Penn and Teller's, they put on the same good old show that they've always done in all their lives. But they're in the Rio, which is kind of like a little bit away from the strip. The Rio is a shithole.
Is it? I thought it was just a fancy casino hotel
No, the
like
Rio
all the
is,
other ones.
Are you kidding? No, the Rio is like really, the Rio felt like Atlantic City. The Rio was